Welcome to the Tom Bernard Show with the family and
co-host Catherine Brandt
and Andy Brandt Bernard
and Kristen Burt.
Kristen Burt. Entertainment news brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Now, Kristen, I'm going to get this out of the way right at the beginning of your stuff so you can have the whole segment to yourself. That'd be good. But it's been interesting last couple of days because we had a guest, Bill Deckis, on yesterday who was talking quite a bit about he wanted to kill himself and tried to kill himself, but it didn't. How was it that the car didn't hit the tree that he wanted it to hit? Does he even know?
I don't think he knows.
Yeah, he was going to kill himself, and then didn't he kind of like
He's
wake up?
doing a mental health podcast.
Yeah,
this is where this
is the context behind suddenly bringing that up.
Well, no, but
and he was a guest yesterday on the show.
Mm-hmm. And I do the podcast with him, actually. I'm the producer.
The reason I wanted to bring it up very quickly is the fact that, you know, you've got Jesse the shrink coming in at the bottom of the hour.
Oh, yeah, he's a psychology guy. Maybe he should be on the show.
Indeed. There you go. But so we had Bill Deckis talking about that. Jesse the shrink's going to be talking about it in general and the humor, of course. And then the other thing is, Catherine and I yesterday had some bank business to take care of, which I got to go over there today, don't I?
The 10th.
Well, I keep thinking it's after 10 o'clock, but it's the 10th that I go. Okay. But there was a young man, a very handsome young guy, and he had Tourette's syndrome. And it was really cool because it was pretty severe Tourette's, don't you think?
It was it was noticeable.
It was
I
very
wouldn't say
noticeable,
severe. Severe to me is the one that where they're yelling out inappropriate words.
Yeah, that's
that
true.
one,
That's true.
They can't control their own
Yeah,
bodies. It can get bad.
He had a bunch of facial tics.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do the comparison and talk maybe, get Bill and get him in. I don't want to say his name yet. But he handled it so well, it was unbelievable. He was talking to me about having Tourette's, and, he had more than facial tics, though. His face would, scrunch down and then open.
Yeah, it's a facial tic. That's actually a very common facial tic.
Yeah, but I mean, it was more than that. It was a lot more than that. But he handles it very, very well, and I'd like to have him in. I asked him to come in sometime to talk about that.
He's writing a book about it.
Yeah, he's writing a book about it. So I was very, very excited about that, having Bill in yesterday and having Jesse in today and talking to the young man yesterday about, and he came right out and said, I know you noticed, so I'll just tell you I do have Tourette's. He just came right out, handled it very, very well.
So where was this?
At
a bank.
At a bank yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think the stigma around mental health, I love that people are openly talking about it.
Yes.
I think the more we talk about it, the better it is for everyone. Because even if you're someone who doesn't struggle on a day-to-day basis with mental health, we can go through periods of our life where we might have bouts of depression, we might be going through grief, and the more that we have the support, the better everyone is for that.
I still think mental health is caused by serpents in the blood. I think they had it right in the medieval period.
That's it. That was it.
All this newfangled psychology stuff is just smoke and mirrors.
No question about it.
Yeah.
So, Kristen, what's going on in Hollywood?
I feel like I have some good news for you.
Oh, good. We like good news.
Yes.
I'm
I
ready.
feel like this will be on your radar. We're going to have to wait until 2026 for this, but I still feel like this is good news for you. There is going to be a Tulsa Kings spinoff.
Ooh, really?
Spinoff.
With Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh.
So Sylvester's not going to be in it?
No, because Tulsa King is going to be for Sylvester. Samuel L. Jackson is going to have Nola King.
Oh,
so went down to New Orleans.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so this was just announced yesterday. They're not going to start production until February. So we won't see this until 2026. However, we will see Samuel L. Jackson on season 3 of Tulsa King because he's going to have an arc. They're going to introduce the character, and then it'll be spun off.
That's what I was wondering. So it's going to be, he's kind of this member of the same gang, but he's just got a different territory.
Part of the crime underworld.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to play a character called Russell Lee Washington Jr. because he needs lots of names. It's very... it's definitely very sketchy on details because, they're keeping everything under radar. But it looks like Samuel will be filming his scenes for Tulsa King in July. Oh. And then Nola King will go into production in February. And then, of course, Taylor Sheridan, the busiest man in Hollywood. He's going to be executive producer. He's not going to be writing the show. It'll be handled by Dave Erickson, who was a writer on Mayor of Kingstown.
Where did Sheridan come from? All of a sudden, he was just, boom, he was here. That was weird.
Well, he wrote a lot of books originally, right? And then I think he just started doing adaptions and.
Taylor Sheridan
Yeah.
came from Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
There you
That's where he
go.
came from.
And I think just with having that Yellowstone, and what's interesting too is that Yellowstone has really set the pace for everyone else wanting to have a Western, everyone even wanting to do like reality shows with the Western spin.
Westerns were not a thing for a long time, too. Like a long time.
Well, remember how big they were.
They were
at one
gigantic
time.
for a long time, and then all of a sudden, Clint Eastwood was like the last big Western guy, I would say, and
Yeah,
he's not
yeah.
young.
Well, what was a spaghetti western?
That was a Western, but they were all Italian, pretending to be cowboys.
That was
Oh,
Clint
that's
Eastwood.
what that was. Clint Eastwood was a spaghetti western
He was
guy?
in a couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I never really understood what that meant.
It's called spaghetti western because they're Italian.
Oh.
It's a bunch of it's like how Native Americans were usually Italian in movies back then.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Because
They
they're
were.
like, slightly tan
Yeah.
kind of thing. But there's enough of them that it's like, oh, we need a slightly tan guy who could pass for a native. You're going to get 10 million Italians applying.
I suppose.
Sheridan, he's actually been around for a long
He
time.
has. He's not super young.
I think
but-
he's in his 50s.
Let's see.
Well,
He
didn't
is
he write-
55, but
Yeah.
he's been directing since it looks like 2011 with some movie called Vile.
Vile.
It's a horror movie. I don't know. I don't know if anyone even remembers that, but he's been acting since 1995. He was in Walker, Texas Ranger.
I did not know that.
Yep. And
See?
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Wow.
Oh, I
Oh.
remember that. Yep.
That was on
big.
a long time.
Jane Seymour.
Yeah, that was on a really long time.
That was on for 5
Tom, have you
years.
interviewed Jane Seymour?
Long time ago, yeah. On
She's
the- on the
lovely.
KQ
She's
show.
so sweet.
She's on a series in Britain, I think.
She's
it's-
on Acorns. I want to say Harry Wild.
That's it. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That's
Her
it.
real name is not Jane Seymour. It's Joyce Penelope Wilhelmina Frankenberg.
Ah, wow,
you
very
go.
German.
I think she has some sort of royal connection, like Duke or Countess
Yeah, I
or
think
something
you're right,
like that.
Oh,
yeah.
does she? Early life. Let's see.
Yeah, she's been around a long time. I can't remember a time before Jane Seymour.
Wow, her her family certainly has a lot of stuff going on. Her mother was a prisoner of war during World War
Oh,
II.
God.
Ooh.
It looks like mostly Polish and German. Somehow they reached England thanks to the war. I don't see any royalty or anything.
No
though.
royal connections. She didn't marry into
Maybe
royalty.
she married a count.
Oh, I wonder. She's married several people, quite a few people.
She had a very public divorce, I want to say, from Stacy Keach that was like all over the tabloids
Oh,
for a
that
God.
while
wasn't
there.
one of
Stacy
them.
Keach.
James Keach.
James Keach, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Stacy's his brother. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Jane Seymour, let's see, was linked to Henry VIII. She was born in 1508.
Oh, there you go. There's
There
your
you go.
There's a royal
Probably-
connection.
There-
Maybe
That's
she
probably the
talks about it a
connection.
lot. I've interviewed her probably 4 or 5 times now, like over my career, and I'm like, I'm sure it has come up at some point.
Oh, she was actually, this Jane Seymour was married to Henry VIII and was the only one who got an actual queen's funeral. So there you go.
Did he
There's
kill
the-
her too?
No, I don't believe so. Although she did die at 28, so
Oh,
maybe.
well.
Perhaps. Or childbirth.
How does it go?
Yeah,
It
it's a
goes
little-
divorced,
It's either
beheaded,
child-
and died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. So
But
she was
at
the
whole
28,
six- that's the whole
was that
six
like
thing.
being 85
Yeah, maybe.
in that era?
Maybe.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
She
I know.
was the third wife, so divorced, beheaded, and died. She's the one who died.
Yes.
So she wasn't like she didn't meet
That's
a
what-
grisly end relative to the period.
That's
I
what
suppose.
Six the Musical's all about.
Yep, exactly.
All of his
divorced,
wives.
beheaded, and died. Divorced, beheaded, survived.
Yep.
That's how you remember Henry VIII's
They
wives.
sing that in the beginning. It's
Do
like
they?
one of
How
the
many
songs.
days can we go by without mentioning a musical, Alex?
I know.
None. I love them.
0, because you know what this weekend is? The Tony Awards.
I know it's the Tonys.
Oh,
I know.
And you guys, guess who I'm going to see on Saturday night? Who also sings and dances? A-list star.
David Hasselhoff.
David.
Better than that, A-list.
Not possible.
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah.
What?
You are?
Look at you all excited.
In what way is Jackman better than Hasselhoff?
Yes,
Name
exactly.
3 ways.
They're both kind of campy, aren't they? I mean,
I
we're
would-
not huge-
at this point,
they're both
yes.
kind of campy.
What are you
so
seeing him in?
the opening of the Hollywood Bowl on Saturday night. So we're looking forward to that. But this is Hugh Jackman's show that he's currently doing at Radio City Music Hall. He's bringing it to the Hollywood Bowl.
How fun.
So I'm very excited. Yeah, and this is unexpected. The tickets kind of landed in our lap, so I was like, okay, this will be a fun weekend.
Yeah, really fun.
We finished The Greatest Showman last night. The kids and I did.
Speaking of Hugh Jackman,
Yeah, that was
Or not
good.
last night, yesterday during the day. Fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic.
and what was the kids' review? Like, that's the important thing.
What was fun? You can here, Uncle Andy. Hang on.
Hold
Hang on.
Here's a mic.
There you go.
All right, there you go.
It was amazing.
What was your favorite part, Fawn?
I don't know.
You
I
don't know?
don't know.
Sage.
What about when they were dancing with the laundry?
singing.
Come here. They're asking questions about The Greatest
Zendaya.
Showman.
I think Melissa's favorite part of that movie is the bar scene where they're dancing.
No, you got that's your.
Oh,
you
yeah.
got it by your
He's gonna
mom.
get
This
some
is me.
Yeah, where they're like negotiating their salary or whatever the hell they're
Oh,
doing.
there's 2 dancing bar scenes. So there's one between Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron. That's the negotiating the salary.
That's,
this is
I think-
The Other Side is that song.
Yes, Zac Efron, according to what Google tells me he looks like, is the right guy.
Okay. I have always thought Zac Efron looks a little scary.
He's weird looking. Yeah.
Like
Well,
his
he had-
eyes are very piercing and
Yeah, he looks like
he has like a kind of a menacing. I don't
he
know.
looks
Everybody
like he
thinks
used
he's-
to be a wolf who got turned into a person.
Yeah, everybody thinks he's so handsome, and I've always been a little bit like he's a little scary looking. Sage, come back
But
here.
you know the tea on that too, though, right? He
Well, he
has
changed his
had-
face, right?
He's had like numerous falls, like really weird accidents, and one of them he said he had to have his jaw reconstructed. Some people think he had cosmetic surgery. Other people, and he's saying like it was all related to the fall that my face shape changed.
Yeah.
But allegedly, he has had issues with substance abuse, and allegedly, he might be a yacht boy.
Yacht boy.
We've talked about yacht girls, yacht boy, same thing. so
dear.
Well, I'm looking
there are
at
some
there's a picture of
allegations
him
there.
He changed a lot.
2007 Nickelodeon Choice Awards, and then here's this one in 2017, and he doesn't even look like the same person.
I know he looks so.
It doesn't.
His face is
his
a lot more
jaw
square
is-
now.
Yeah,
It's
like
square.
his jaw's very wide and weird.
There's a bunch of social media sites that show somebody like in their when they were 18 or 20, and then they're now 70, and they're like,
Not-
"What happened to this person?"
true.
I mean, if you
You're
look
like,
at John
we're
Travolta,
lucky to age.
John Travolta when he was younger, to his head like increased in
I know.
volume by like 3 times.
Weird stuff.
I mean, his whole jawline, everything. It is weird how your bone structure can actually change that much
Yeah.
over the years. It's interesting.
Sage,
And
what
even
was
something simple as orthodontia can actually change your face shape.
Yes.
So if you suddenly get, Invisalign,
Yeah.
that can change the shape of your
That's
face.
the whole idea
That's
behind
true.
mewing, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't know mew. It's when you press your tongue against the roof of your mouth to make your jaw more defined.
Yes, it like sucks the under part of
Yep.
your chin.
For photos.
No,
Yep.
you don't jut your jaw out. Dad's like
your tongue.
"Eh."
I'm mewing.
Like you don't move anything about your face. You just press the tongue to the roof of your mouth.
Yep.
It doesn't do anything to my face.
Well, you haven't been mewing enough.
I haven't been mewing enough.
Oh, so it builds like a muscle underneath your.
Yeah.
Allegedly, I don't know if it's true or not.
Anyway, Sage, what was your favorite part of The Greatest Showman?
Do you know?
The last part.
The
last
part, or they rebuild and they put it in the tent and everything's okay.
Yeah. Well, specifically when the other person.
Oh, when
Yeah.
what Carlisle something Carlisle. isn't it?
Carlisle.
Oh, I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen that.
When Zac Efron's character when he
Philip Carlisle.
when he takes over, like when they passes in the hat. Is that what you mean, Sage?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like that part a lot.
Yeah.
My
Good
friend
stuff.
danced in that movie. He said it was really fun to make.
Oh, I can't even imagine. It had to be
Can you
so fun.
imagine?
It was really funny though because the part where Jenny Lind, who was an actual person that P.T. Barnum did tour with.
Weren't they all actual people?
Not all of them.
Except I think Zac Efron's character might have been at least.
Well, Zac Efron's character I think was supposed to be
Yeah, Philip Carlisle never
what's
existed.
his face Bailey, but I don't know.
Barnum and Bailey
Barnum.
guy.
Yeah.
Barnum, Barnum Bailey, yeah.
I like how we don't know his name, but we know the association with
Yeah.
P.T. Barnum.
What's his face, Bailey? But when Jenny Lind was like she and Hugh Jackman were like staring at each other longingly, you know. Fawn goes, "Do not have a divorce and marry this lady." Like, she was very much like, "Absolutely not. This is not appropriate behavior."
This is wrong.
I know. Yeah, it was really, really funny. She just kept on going, "Do not have a divorce."
Oh,
It's
we
like-
got news from my house.
Oh dear.
Ethan's been going outside because we have a gate and fence and everything, so he can just go outside whenever he wants.
Yeah.
Not great at shutting the door.
Oh, dear.
Sure. of
So
course not.
Nora got out, and
That's a cat.
she was stalking a baby bunny.
Oh, God.
When Melissa found her, she was
like-
like, "I'm gonna get you." I don't think she
Cats
ever.
love baby bunnies.
They do. I don't think Nora ever would though, because like when she gets
Yeah.
out, she just goes and rolls around in the grass. She never goes more than 5 feet from the house.
That's how Hobbs was. He was always like,
No,
"I'll just
Hobbs-
stay on the stoop."
Hobbs
I like
would
the
never
stoop.
wanted to be outside at all.
He liked being outside when we lived in St. Paul.
Sometimes he
but
would
he
go
just
out
stayed
there.
in. He didn't even go in the grass. He just stayed on like
When he was a young cat.
Although Nora
patio area.
does have a kill count, so there's that. She's gotten a whole lot of mice.
Eek.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah.
Eek.
Oh yeah. We had a hole in the not the foundation, but the wall of the house one time, and we used to have mice get in, and she took care of that. No mice anymore.
Good girl.
Yeah.
There you
Cats are,
have it.
that's what cats are good
Yes,
for.
yes, it is.
We'll take a break. Be right back in a couple minutes, right after this. From Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. What's up, Allie?
Oh, not much. Doing my usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands-free, but you can't have your phone in your hands for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget, and now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
Let us take a second to talk about my bank, North American Banking Company. As a business owner, you're always looking for opportunities to grow, and that's where North American Banking Company can help. Their business banking team offers tailored solutions, whether you're expanding your team, opening a new location, or upgrading equipment. Because they're locally owned, loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities, which means faster approvals and more flexibility to meet your needs. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, why not bank with my friends at North American Banking Company? Visit nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. So what else is happening in Hollywood?
Oh, we have to tell her that
For the
we-
first,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I just wanted to mention, yesterday you and Michael Bryant were talking about the new show Sticks.
Oh yeah.
Stick, yes.
The Stick
The
on
Stick.
Apple Plus,
Apple TV Plus, yeah.
Apple TV Plus. Anyway, we watched an episode.
Oh, what did you guys think? What's your review?
It was good. I thought it was good.
I thought, yeah, you really liked it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't, yeah, that Owen.
Owen Wilson. He's
Owen
a
Wilson's
great
great.
actor.
He's
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Phenomenal.
he's
I have a hard time getting over the nose. I'm sorry.
It is.
I just see the penis nose, and I just have a hard time.
It's true. He
looking
also, in the
beyond
gossip
it.
columns back in the day, he used to be called the Butterscotch Stallion because he was like always hooking up with all these like hot young actresses, and I still see him as the Butterscotch Stallion.
Gosh, that's hilarious.
Butterscotch.
It's like sometimes you can't get past people. Like there was what was
It's
that?
just
It was
so-
something Moms. That show, remember? It was on Netflix. Something Moms.
Netflix show
remember.
called Moms. Let's see. Working Moms?
It wasn't Dance Moms. Working Moms. And all these people were like, "Oh, it's so funny. You'll love it. You have to watch it." And I was like, "I cannot look at her mouth. It's too upsetting
Who
to
are
me."
we talking about?
The woman in Working Moms, like the lead character, her inside of her
Kate
mouth.
Foster?
I don't know. Her inside of her mouth like comes out and you can see it.
Ish.
Oh, so she had like an underjaw kind of thing?
No,
Underjaw.
like it's like she has her lips, and then like there's the inside like comes
Like the gums?
out when she
like
talks.
a gummy smile?
No, it's like okay,
Like the palate?
you have to. What is her name?
I mean, there's a lot of girls in that movie. It's called Working Moms.
Working Moms.
It's
Okay.
Kate Foster, Annie Carlson.
But I
Frankie
was like, I
Klein.
can't watch the show because her mouth is too distressing to me. Catherine.
That is really specific.
Catherine. But no. And like I told one of my mom friends at dance about it, and she was like, "Well, now I can't watch the show anymore because ever since you said that, her mouth is so distracting." I'm like, she's like, I
I
never
know.
noticed it. And
When
I'm like,
people point something out to you, like Owen's nose is hard to
Yeah,
yes,
miss,
yeah,
but
yeah.
for other people, when someone points something that you're like, oh, I didn't notice that until you told me, and then it's always there. It's like such a glaring thing, and you're like, you've ruined the movie.
so yeah, sorry, I just might have ruined that show for everybody. But honestly, it's her mouth is.
Oh yeah, her upper lip curves inward on each side.
Yeah, and so like
Really?
when
People
she
suspect
talks,
she might have had some sort of surgery, like a disorder or something, but it's not confirmed.
because like the top part of her lip doesn't even really exist. The top part of her like the middle part of her top lip isn't even
Yeah,
there.
she has a very like chipmunk smile for
And
sure.
then the sides of her top lip, like it's there. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna find out that she had like some horrible deformity.
I know.
Yeah,
I
you're
look
gonna
like
feel
this
like crap.
absolute
And then this episode is
monster.
going to play on The View in 5 years, and we're all going
And
to
they're
be
gonna yell at us.
I'm gonna look like an absolute monster with corgi ears.
It's like Miss Niecy from Who Wants a Clean House. Remember her?
I loved
Her
Miss.
I know, but her
Niecy.
mouth was so enormous.
Miss Niecy.
I love Miss
Her
Niecy.
lips and her mouth
Yes,
were just,
Miss
it was half her
Niecy.
face. It's hard
I
to.
don't even know who you're talking about.
Who wants a clean
Niecy
house?
Nash.
I like the
Niecy
show.
Nash.
I don't even know what show
Niecy
you're talking
Nash
about.
is one
Clean
of the
House.
finest actresses out there
I'm
now.
sure she is, but I can't, I
She's so
just
good.
notice her.
Oh
whole-
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, she's
Niecy
just-
Nash was amazing in Dahmer. Oh my God,
Oh,
that
yeah.
and that
Yep.
was so tough to get through.
I didn't
but
see it.
Honestly, like it is so gruesome, and I'm someone who can handle a lot of true crime, and I was like, I don't know if I can finish this.
Oh, well, he was
But Niecy Nash,
crazy.
I actually like tweeted her because I was like, I cannot stop raving about your performance, and she did respond, which was really nice of her to say. But she was so good, and then I interviewed her last year. Amazing.
Nice.
Amazing.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
she's not a nice person or a nice actress. It's just it was a distraction. And Who Wants a Clean House?
Yeah, I went to high school with a girl that had a big mouth, and one day she walked up to me. She's like, "Do you think I have a big mouth?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"I mean,
God.
yeah."
And you
but
said no.
I said a little bit, but I think you look good.
Yeah,
There
like
you
it's
go.
Because I
fine.
mean, it was true. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought she
Yeah.
was pretty.
Yeah, like
Big features don't necessarily mean bad.
No.
No.
Well,
That's true.
no, and they work well for camera too.
That's true.
no, it's true.
Big
That's
head,
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
big features, like big eyes.
Yeah.
You sit there, like I always think about Javier Bardem when I interviewed him at the Oscars one year, and he's not super tall. I'm going to say he's probably like 5'8", 5'9", somewhere around there. And I could not stop looking at the size of his head. I was like, it is enormous.
Yeah.
Well, that was like
But
I
it looks great on camera.
Yep.
You want a big head.
I saw Jessica Simpson once at a John Mayer concert, and she has the smallest body and the biggest head.
Yeah,
I was like,
that
my
plays well on
goodness.
camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
Looks great. People love it.
Susan Lucci, when we'd see her down at the Breakers all the time. Haven't seen her there
Yeah,
in
huge head.
like a couple
Yeah.
of years. Her shoulders are about 4 inches apart. And then she's got this watermelon head. It's just like,
Yeah. Susan Lucci is, if she even reaches 3 digits in weight, like I doubt if she's even 100
Oh,
pounds.
you're
She's
right.
so
She's tiny.
teeny
Oh,
tiny.
wow.
I saw her at the
Itty
Daytime
bitty.
Emmys. She was honored, I think, 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, something like that, because we had so many Daytime Emmys in one year due to strikes and everything. But
Oh, yeah.
she looks good. Like
She
you
is-
definitely know it's Susan
She
Lucci.
is
But
certainly thin.
yeah, she's itty bitty.
super. She's been tiny her whole life. It's not
Some
like
people are just like that.
yeah.
Just
she's
rail
itty bitty.
thin all the time.
Super petite.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, just so everyone knows, if you are home and looking for something to do, for the first time ever, a Broadway play is going to be broadcast live on television.
Oh.
It is George Clooney in Good Night and Good Luck.
This has never been
And
happened. It's never happened before. No one's ever
It's
broadcast.
never happened before.
Huh.
No one has ever broadcast a Broadway show live.
That's really
Really?
So-
surprising.
That's very
it's super
surprising.
surprising. Well, the costs are astronomical.
I thought they
Plus,
did
you
that
have
with
to make.
West Side
Plus you have to-
Story.
Well, they taped it.
It was a movie,
They
wasn't it?
tape it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
Tape
movie. But they oftentimes, every single, I don't know if people know this, every single Broadway show and musical is taped. And it is then put in the Lincoln Center Library.
Oh, okay.
So that you can go and watch it if you are either studying, like at a college, or if you get special permission. Like you can't just randomly go and watch, but just so you guys know that. But now they've been making deals with like Netflix. We saw like Hamilton on Netflix and things like that. We'll see other shows moving forward. But this is the first time it's ever been done live. So it'll be 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I guess for you guys, 6 p.m. It'll air on CNN, CNN International, and HBO Max. So you do not need to have a cable subscription if you want to watch it on CNN. You can just log on to their website and view it without any cost to you. And they're going to do a pre-special, and I think that's at 6:30. So I guess 5:30 for you guys in Central Time.
That's interesting because I've been noticing that George Clooney's been doing a bunch of political talks on talk shows lately, and that must be his way of getting out there before he did this. It seems a little odd that he would add politics into it, but whatever.
He's nominating for a Tony. He's nominated for a Tony on Sunday. I really think, I'm going to be super honest, I think George Clooney and his op-ed with the New York Times about Joe Biden was probably a bad thing for his acting career. Like a lot of people don't agree with him or just thought he kind of threw Joe Biden under the bus, even if he was having cognitive problems. So he's not going to win the Tony on Sunday
I have
night.
a question for you. Who? It must happen because they keep doing it. What would I possibly care what an actor has to say about politics?
A lot of people do.
I've never understood that.
Because
Who
it's an
cares what you think?
incestuous industry,
guess.
and you all have to say Z words. Or
Yep.
Well, and
Well,
I-
Clooney's
not
always been very
Clooney-
political
Yeah, he's been
for a
very-
long
always
time.
been very political, and I
Yeah.
think he honestly feels like his voice is very important. I don't think it's very important. It's never going
don't
to
either.
sway my vote. But his wife too is, a lawyer with the UN,
Oh,
and
well,
so
there
they're
it
also involved in a lot of social causes and social justice. So
Now, I know you only have about a minute left, so I want to ask you this here. Do you think, because it started in the Democratic Party around the Joe Biden thing, did he do this, did he do that, blah, blah, blah. And now, of course, the Republicans had to stand up, and now we got Elon Musk and Donald Trump battling it out.
Yep.
It's Saturday Night Wrestling. That's all it is now.
Oh, Elon
I
Musk.
yesterday pulled up with my popcorn and just watched it play out. You know what? And I bet if we went back to the tape somewhere around the election, I said these two are going to have a meltdown at some point
Yeah.
because their egos.
Yeah.
I was like, at least I called one thing, but I knew this would happen because two big egos in a room just
Yes.
can't.
Yep.
They can't handle it.
Well, there's a couple different schools of thought on what's going on. Number one, a lot of people think it's staged.
I do. Absolutely.
A lot of people think it's staged,
Could be.
so that they could break off and
And help the Tesla stock price. Blah
whatever.
blah blah.
Yeah, yep.
Tesla was doing just fine before this. I don't know
That's true.
why they would need to do anything to it. But anyway, so that's one school of thought. Another school of thought is that Elon Musk is autistic.
I mean, I think it's pretty demonstrable
Yeah,
that he's
oh,
got
it's-
something
yeah, I
going
think
on.
he-
Everybody, I think he's even said that he is.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
positive
wonder.
if he's actually.
I feel
come
like
out
he
and
said
it.
he's on the spectrum.
I feel like he did.
At some point.
And
I don't
he
know.
and sometimes people with autism, they just
Yes,
blow
he has,
up.
He has publicly
Yeah.
stated that he has Asperger's.
Yeah, sometimes
Oh,
they
okay.
just blow up. He could just be having a bit
Yeah.
of a meltdown, and that's another school of thought. And if that's the case, it would be nice if maybe Donald Trump just left him alone for
Yeah,
a bit.
that
and
would
Well,
be
let
is,
him
nice.
is
have
Trump
his-
competing or like participating in this feud?
Yes.
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 Because all I've
Actively.
seen is that Elon
Yep.
Musk has been like, big, beautiful Bill
What-
sucks,
what-
etc.
yeah, that's exactly what it's about. Because apparently, once again, in the middle of the night, they decided to throw a bunch of pork into this bill.
Yep, as they always do.
As they always do.
Every
and Elon
single
Musk
bill.
caught wind of it and had a fit because, he's discovered, what, $350 billion of waste in just a couple of months?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was all about making government more efficient and more slim and less bloated and all this kind of stuff. And many, many people agreed with him. And I do believe that put Trump over the top because that's what people want. They don't want their tax dollars wasted on studying weird insects in Madagascar. They just don't want to do that. anymore. So anyway, so then all of a sudden this big, beautiful bill gets bloated up with pork. And I think that just maybe made his Asperger's really kick in. I don't know.
He's threatening to start a third party, and I'm like, if I were Donald Trump, I would actually take
Be a
that
little
seriously.
worried, yeah.
If this is not a planned situation,
You know what, though?
and
I've always said that, and thinking about it now, how entrenched both parties are in on all of the fraud and the grift
It's
and
gonna
the
be so
bloated
hard to replace them.
government
Yeah,
and the
it's
just
super hard to
sucking
replace
down
it.
cash like crazy. I mean, what was that? What was that guy that just went to the Ukraine and had an $800,000 hotel bill?
Yeah. Yep.
$800,000 hotel bill.
A
We
lot of
get to
money.
pay. I mean,
We get to pay lots of hotel
Lindsey
bills.
Graham, I think
Yes.
it was.
Lindsey
maybe.
Graham and Richard Blumenthal.
Yeah, it was.
800 some odd $1,000 on hotels.
Let's
This is
see.
obscene and it shouldn't be approved by anybody. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I think that, but I just don't know. If a third party, they're going to get in there and everybody's going to go, oh, welcome to the trough of cash.
Yep.
Right.
Why would they be
Yeah.
any different? Why would anybody
no,
be any
nobody's
different?
going to be any different because they're all the same, even if they
Yep.
have slightly different beliefs. And we'll see what happens. I mean, Trump is now like saying, I'm going to re-gift my Tesla that he got from
Oh,
Elon.
God.
We'll see what happens with that.
What
So.
it's all stuff.
Believable.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Political theater.
Saturday night at the St. Paul Auditorium, Kristen Burt's got to leave.
See, if Trump wanted to do something actually funny, he would make a video of him vandalizing his own Tesla.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That's what I would do.
All right.
here
Kristen
for
wants to
that.
booze it up. I just saw her hitting the sauce there. So.
This is my
I'll be with you.
This is core power.
Electrolytes.
Well, if all the women have them. All right.
I know this is my core power protein drink for the morning.
We'll talk to you on Monday.
I will be here on Monday and I'll have lots of scoop because I've got 2 events plus Hugh Jackman. So
Oh
I will
my
come
goodness.
with all of the scoop. And hopefully Alex will be here so we can talk musical theater because
will
of
be.
the Tony Awards.
Yeah.
We will talk to you then.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Take a break. Be right back. Jesse the Shrink up next.
Many car dealers try to create an extreme sense of urgency. Does anybody really buy it?
We gotta sell 100 cars by Saturday to get the boss off the roof. You'll never see these rebates again. And oh yeah, your trade will never be worth more.
Really? I asked Jim Paul from Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley and Valley GMC in Hastings his thoughts.
I don't even know what to say. I hope folks are smarter than that.
Has there really ever been a time when it was urgent?
Probably not. But this tariff environment might be a first. Valley has several hundred pre-tariff units on the ground. Who knows what's going to happen with the tariffs, but these are really safe buys. Going forward, Valley's committed to make whatever the situation is as painless as possible, like we've always done.
Where can we find you then?
Get them pre-tariff. Hurry, hurry, hurry. When they're gone, they're gone. And man,
At a Valley store in Apple Valley or Hastings or valleycardealers.com. Certainly not on a roof.
Let's take a second to talk about my bank. That'd be North American Banking Company. As a business owner, you're always looking for opportunities to grow, and that's where North American Banking Company can help. Their business banking team offers tailored solutions, whether you're expanding your team, opening a new location, upgrading equipment. Because they're locally owned, loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities, which means faster approvals and more flexibility to meet your needs. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, why not bank with my friends at North American Banking Company? Visit nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a big day. Kristen Burt did a great job. Always does. No question. Joining
Always
us now.
does.
It's true. Jesse the Shrink in studio. First time we've been in studio together about 6 months.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, no, more than that, about 8 or 9 months.
No, really?
It was right before you left.
Oh, that's right.
I
You
came in
haven't
here.
been in studio because you were in
Right.
Florida. Right.
That's exactly right. No
Right.
question about it. Might be a busy day for you today, Jesse, the shrink part.
Always is.
There's a lot of stuff that's happening in the world, and I find it fascinating. We have decided, we kind of had a vote in a little kind of a way, because you got, Obama's pissed at everybody in the Democratic Party because they're going after Joe Biden. And saying
Obama?
that, Obama controlled, what's his face, completely.
Joe Biden?
Biden.
Joe Biden, yeah.
That's
What's
one
his
of the
face?
theories. Yep.
Yes. So everybody's pissed off about that, the Biden-Obama thing. And blah, blah, blah. Now we got Elon Musk hates Donald Trump. Do you think this is all-star wrestling?
I mean, yes, it is.
I thought so.
Yeah. I don't know. I was listening to you guys a little bit out there, and I had some buddies that were chiming in on that too. How much of this is staged?
Yeah.
Do they know what they're doing? Because look what we're doing right now. We're talking about it.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I mean, was it Linda McMahon is the education secretary, the wife of Vince McMahon? I mean, you know, Trump has got a long history with the WWE.
He does.
So
Yes,
I
that's
very
true.
often wonder, like many of you do, when these things happen, how much of this is theater, and it's brilliant.
It is.
It's kind of, I mean, but I agree with the brilliant part, except for the fact that some of the stuff that Elon Musk is saying is really, really, I think he called Trump a pedophile.
Well, that's
I
a
think he
little
actually said the
extreme.
words.
Oh, did he?
I think he.
I know he said he's
I think
on
he-
the Epstein list.
Yeah,
he did say that,
Well,
yeah.
we've always known that he's flown on some of the planes, but we
Yeah.
didn't. I don't know if it was ever proven that he went to the
Well,
island
you're
or
also
not.
not allowed to make accusations like that without convictions because
I know.
that's slander.
I know, but I think he actually did either put it on Instagram or on.
Well, he did fly
X.
on the planes.
That's
doesn't
true,
mean
but
anything, though.
But that also now that they're fighting, people are going to say this guy said this about this guy, and we're not going to
Yep.
really know what's actually true unless you're sitting there watching all of
Yeah,
this
and I
play
think
out.
that's interesting. Like, I don't know how much to get into all that detail, but I just had a client the other day say something about a current event and something that a celebrity said. It had to do with the P. Diddy trial.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, as much as I follow the news, I wasn't aware of that. Well, I went and I looked later, and it was nowhere to be found. And then when I followed up, they said, oh, they found out that was inaccurate. They found that on social media somewhere. So I have no idea if technically pedophile was said. But I know I read the thing about the Epstein list, and,
Yeah.
you know, that's okay.
I
this
know.
isn't...
Yeah, that's not really. If it's just theater, I
Right.
don't think you want to go there.
Well, right, but
Right.
then also I go all over the place because then I go, if you actually like get into what do they do in pro wrestling sometimes what they do to get the best theater is they will bring the personal unscripted into their back and forth and having everybody go, is this real?
Right.
All right,
Now-
maybe I don't know.
And to be clear, I don't have a strong opinion, is this true theater and are they doing this on purpose? Because I also see, and you know, I know that people do get really stressed about this realm of talking about politics. So I always like to be clear when I'm saying these things. I'm not coming from a conservative or a liberal perspective.
Right.
But if I do look at Elon Musk and Donald Trump, even though I am not in a position to be able to diagnose them, I got to be very clear about that.
The Goldwater rule, right?
Can we agree that they both have very narcissistic
Oh,
tendencies?
well, there you go.
Yes.
I think that's
Well,
safe.
yeah. That
Like,
is
I'm
safe
not
to say.
crossing a
Yeah.
boundary by saying that.
Safe
Right.
to
I would
say.
say so.
So when you have two individuals who have highly narcissistic tendencies, whether you like them or not, that's not good or bad, but if they have those tendencies, then there is definitely, we've talked about this before about narcissism.
Right.
There definitely is a tendency to have a very deep rooted insecurity that's at the foundation of the narcissism.
Absolutely.
So now take these two really powerful men who like to vie for attention, who have narcissistic tendencies, and if one of them feels slighted,
Right.
Oh, God.
then this, and I've been watching this for a while, when these two came together, it was like old school wrestling. They used to
It
have
was.
Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
This was the theme. He would become friends with Randy Savage, with Mr. Wonderful, and guess what? Shocker, they would always turn on him.
Yeah.
And so I watched this bond that the two of them had, and I thought the moment that one of them decides to dig in their heels on something that the other one doesn't agree with, this could all start to go in this direction. And look how quickly this happened.
It very quickly
Very
happened.
quickly.
Well, they need the attention. The attention's a big, big part of it. Another thing I wanted, what?
Yeah, I just like I said, if it is a real just a narcissistic fight, they're both taking it like way too far.
Yeah.
That if it's theater, then that's understandable.
And when
I
you see
guess.
that, and if it's not theater and they're taking it too far,
Yeah.
then the implications of the rest of the world and all of us watching this going,
yeah, why are you
like
doing
you
this?
can't be higher on like the stakes of like the world is
Right.
watching and this is
Yeah,
the head of the United States.
then it's very
and-
infantile.
Yes.
Yes, right.
And so then I always want to know behind the scenes.
Yeah,
What are
right.
the politicians and what is everybody involved in all? We're not going to see that. We're not going to hear that. But what are they
No.
feeling? What are they doing?
Yeah.
No, on the other hand, I couldn't wait for you to get here because the world is getting better in another way. because Jesse, the shrink, is a shrink, and he's a comedian. You didn't used to hear that kind of thing. Well, has any other shrink ever become a comedian before?
I don't know the answer to that. I
don't
have not
think- I don't
found
think
one
so.
yet. It's kind of, how the way the world works is you're never the first, so you would think there was somebody, but I've not come across anybody yet.
In my opinion, most comedians need a shrink.
Yes, they do.
100%.
That's total.
I would say
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna
safe
say,
to
Every
say.
shrink needs a comedian.
I don't know if many comedians were shrinks, but I'm sure a lot of them see shrinks.
Yes.
That's probably okay. So we start out with you, a shrink and a comedian. Then number 2, Bill Dacus was in on the show yesterday. Here's a man that tried to commit suicide. It didn't work. And did he fall asleep at the wheel, Andy, and woke up?
He said he did it on purpose. He closed his eyes, took his hands off the wheel, and then when he reopened his eyes, he was going straight down the highway.
Going straight down the highway.
So his car reoriented itself.
Wow.
Wow.
So now he is a podcaster. So this guy tried to kill himself, and now he's doing a podcast to tell people about that and how you should not do that, which I think, that's magnificent. Don't you think? They're going to try to help like you are trying to help other people.
Well, he runs a mental health group for men. Is that
He
right?
does, yeah.
Yes, Face It Foundation.
Face
He
It
does
Foundation.
indeed.
Yeah.
And then the
That's what he does.
trifecta yesterday, Catherine and I went to a certain business, and I won't name the young man yet, but I'm going to try to get him on the show. There was a pretty handsome young man, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
A pretty handsome young guy, and he.
Weird.
I walked up. Started talking to him, and he said, "Oh, I should tell you, by the way, I have Tourette's." And he had did the whole facial deal.
Not that that's a mental disorder.
No, I'm just saying, but
It's a neurological
Psychological.
what I'm saying is, you would have never heard somebody say, "I have Tourette's" in the past. They would not. They just wouldn't deal with
A
it.
lot of people still don't like to because
Right.
very large percentage of the population thinks that Tourette's is just the swearing
Yeah,
disorder,
just yelling swear words.
which it is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it manifests its way in many different ways, apparently.
I think about
Right.
90% of Tourette's sufferers don't swear compulsively.
Yeah, a lot of it's just noises.
It's just noises, motions, that
Just
sort of
laughing.
thing. Yeah, a
Just
lot of them. Yeah,
laughing.
they'll go like, huh.
Well, that's the first time I think I ever saw anybody or even knew what Tourette's was. Is we were up in Madeline Island on some sailboat with a
Oh,
friend
right,
who
yeah.
was teaching us to sail.
Sure.
Yeah, and somebody at the marina came over to say hi and have drinks, and he kept on going, "Ha!"
Like
So,
that.
so he thinks everything's funny, and
Yeah.
this is great. I must be on my A game today.
Yeah, when I worked
I'm
Put him in my comedy
hilarious.
shows.
when I
And
worked
it
at the
turns
bank,
out that it was Tourette's.
when I worked at the bank, we had a customer who came in, and she would be like, "Got a $50 check to deposit?" Huh. And I'm like, "Oh, that's a good one." Oh, wait, you're not actually laughing.
Yeah.
There you go. Not
Yeah, it's just a
laughing.
cute little. I mean, it can be just a cute little giggle kind of a thing.
Well,
It
some
can
people
be
just
a lot.
nervous laugh.
That
Anyway,
is
like
true.
Sage has a class.
I'm like that.
Sage has a classmate that her mom, every single time I talk to her, like after every sentence, she's like, "Ha."
Yeah.
And I'm like-
Yeah, for me, it's like when Ethan is doing something like really toddlery, like tantruming insanely hard or something like that, I really have to stop myself from laughing.
Oh,
Because it'll just make it 1,000 times worse.
Well,
Right,
it's
right.
just
Yes, it
theater
will.
of the absurd.
It
that's
kind of
why.
is at that point. Yeah.
Do people with Tourette's somehow try to figure the worst thing possible to say? I mean, do they do that intentionally, I'm
No.
assuming?
no.
Or do they?
Why would they
don't do that?
intentionally want to say the worst thing?
Well, I told that story yesterday or a couple of days ago, when I was, I think, around 20, 25 years old. They opened the Burger King in the IDS downtown, and one of the women who worked there had Tourette's, and she would constantly say the big N.
Yeah, actually, that is the thing. It's an intrusive thought kind of thing.
Yeah,
they
but
will
it's like-
actually say
That's-
swears that are the least appropriate for the situation.
That's what I thought.
But they're not trying to. It's that
No.
the,
No,
the
I'm not saying they're
fact,
trying to,
the
but they just
fact
do
that
it.
it's so bad
Yes.
and they can't control it is what
Exactly.
makes it happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if y'all saw, years ago they did a play on this on South Park.
Yes.
They did an
Yeah, they
episode
did.
where one of the
Yes, they
characters
did.
goes,
No, I
"Oh
never
my
saw
God, that's
Yep.
what that is. I can get away with it." And then that's what he does in school. And all the teachers
Tourette's.
blame the other students for getting mad, saying, "Stop discriminating
Oh,
against
jeez.
poor Timmy."
It was Cartman.
Cartman, yes, that's right.
Of
Yeah, because of course it was
Cartman.
Cartman.
Of
But
course-
then
of
he got
course
put
it
in
was.
he got put in a support group with other Tourette's kids, And I actually remember being very impressed with how they treated that, because it was a bunch of other kids talking about like what their Tourette's symptoms were like. And it was just like, some of them would snap and some of them would like, giggle or whatever, that sort of thing. And it was very realistic, which coming from South Park is not what I
I'd say that's
expected.
the sneaky little thing about South Park.
Yeah?
They can
Yeah,
be so
it
crude
is.
and all of that stuff, but then they slip in that little like, oh, there's actually a message.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Maybe.
every so often.
You should have a soul.
But I
But to your point, you were probably, I think, when you were saying, hey, there's some good stuff, where you kind of touched
Yes.
on the idea that
The fact
this
that
used
you
to be
will
something
step
you
up.
would hide it and you can't say it,
No
and then the rest of
question.
us are going, why is this person making these weird noises?
Yep.
Right.
Now we're actually all sounding kind of knowledgeable about this because it's become more acceptable, comfortable. People are more okay.
Yep.
Embrace it.
Well,
But I
I
love
just,
the fact they
I've
step
never
up.
understood the whole hiding stuff. It's just say it.
Right.
Say it. Why not?
I don't know, because then you're like the guy with Tourette's.
Yeah,
And
well,
everything
you are
you do.
anyway.
Like,
I know,
as-
but it's like at that point, it's like,
are who
everything
you
you do,
are.
someone's going to be
Have
like,
you
oh,
done
was there?
therapy before?
No.
You haven't done therapy? Well, that's like a.
I,
that's like-
despite my
who you
best
are.
efforts,
yeah,
no, she has
there
not.
you
So
go.
you hear her on air right now,
Oh,
Jesse.
she
but-
has not. I don't. But it's like, you as a person always are trying to fit in.
Right.
Like,
You don't
like
want to be
as-
the odd one out. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, you're clapping after a show and you clap longer than everyone else. And it's like, must be the Tourette's kicking in.
Yeah. Well, and it's
Poor
just
man can't help himself.
Anybody with any type of divergence
Yeah.
from the norm, like I have ADHD, and I like my brain, even though I'm not trying to, especially as like a preteen teenager, all the time was like, don't do that. That's not normal. Or like,
Yep.
that's what a normal person does. Like, and then you end up masking, as it's called. And now as an adult, I don't do that at all, ever. I'm always like,
Well, I
I'm
have-
just loud and I talk a lot.
Well, that's why I've said it before, and I'll always say it. Social psychology is one of my favorite topics because
Yeah.
one of the huge things to come out of that field is the understanding of group conformity and how we're all
Oh, boy,
wired for
COVID
group
showed us
conformity.
that.
100%. It
Whoa.
was fascinating, and the
Yeah.
thing is, it'll never be fascinating to stop observing because we're all wired with this.
Yeah.
It's a tribal survival thing that you conform. And then, I don't know all of our age gaps here, but I kind of want to check. I'm 48. How old are you guys?
38.
36.
10-year gap.
30s, 40s,
66.
60s,
73.
73.
9.
9. She still has a lot of learning to go.
Yeah, she does.
She
No
does.
So I
question.
want to know, for you two, have you noticed,
You older people.
you older
You
people, see, I didn't know
older.
how to
Elders.
quite say
Yeah,
that.
very nice.
The
How
elders.
much have you noticed the change over your lifetime in the conformity issue in our society? Because I picture in my mind going back into the 50s and 60s, and I know it goes way back before that, but that's what I grab onto. I like the 50s, where there's a lot of conformity stuff.
Right.
If you don't stand out, you fit in, and if you do stand out, you're going to be ostracized. But I believe it's been quite a progression over the last, up until now, where there's a lot less of that happening.
Well, I
You can say, why don't you just be yourself?
I think that both of us, my mother grew up speaking Bohemian, and she sounded funny. So we never fit in to our neighborhood. We never, ever
Yeah.
did. And my dad was a World War II vet who came back and didn't really give a hoot what anyone thought of him anymore. He's just like, I did this for my country. I'm doing what I want to do.
Okay.
He grew up with a mentally ill father, so you didn't fit in
Oh,
ever.
yes.
So
No, never.
being conformist wasn't really wired into us.
But that was people related
mom-
to you. That wasn't you.
But my mom thought
Yeah.
differently, and I see myself sometimes saying words that aren't constructed the way they're supposed to be, just because the way she
I do that
talked.
all the time, too. I think that's a disorder that I got from you.
No, I think it's just when you grow up, it's like some people, and like you learn a different language, you put sometimes the subject before this, and things are mixed up.
Well, and you just also, like, Fawn has my exact handwriting.
Yeah.
I hope
But it's
Ethan
not-
doesn't get my exact handwriting.
Truly. Like, please no.
Very, very
But
bad.
I'm just saying, so as far as conformity to, and I was born at the very, very end of the 50s, and so my enlightenment years were the 70s, where it's like, don't conform, don't
Yeah,
put me in
that's
a box.
true.
Now everybody wants to be put in a box.
Yes.
What's your this? What's your that? What's your
Well, but
pronoun?
here's-
I mean, everybody wants to be, make sure you know exactly what I think about absolutely everything
wanna-
within the first 10 seconds
But they
of
want to
knowing
conform
me.
to nonconformity. They
Yes.
all want to be
Right.
neurodivergent or
Yes.
whatever.
But I feel like that's the tricky thing, because the other day you were like, why does everybody need to have like be labeled things? Like, can't people just be like, oh, this is just how you are? Like, everybody needs to have either like, oh, I'm autistic, or I have ADHD, or I'm transgender, I'm blah blah blah. And I'm like,
I
but
don't disagree.
yeah, but I feel like where's the line though? You know,
Yeah, and you went through hell with your ADHD. Teachers were not nice
They
to
didn't
you.
like me.
I mean, we had a hard time getting you through school.
To be fair, it was 50-50, two-way street
I was
kind of
gonna
thing.
say, like,
Yeah,
I
but I
suppose
mean,
that's
it was
true.
not easy.
So that could be a fine line, right? Like, what do you? On the one hand, you can go too far in one direction, or if you want to say it that way, you can go too far.
Yeah.
Where there's that conformity thing, where like maybe you struggle with ADHD stuff or Tourette's or whatever it might be. That if you are too afraid to stand out, then none of this is going to be brought to light. But then where's that line where does it go too far in the other direction where everybody is going, here's exactly what I am.
Yeah.
Here's
And
the
you
label that
better
I am.
accept it, and I want
Diagnosis
attention
of
for it.
Yeah,
things.
because
all
it
the
reminds me of
time.
so many topics. It's
Yep.
a pendulum where you can go, do we have to say one end is right or wrong? Not necessarily, but if you go too far in either direction,
Is that-
it
yep.
does become kind of problematic.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do feel like there are certain things, like having diagnoses of certain things is super helpful, because it's like Sage, my son, probably has ADHD. Like, he does a lot of, like, he snaps all the time if he's just sitting there bored, and he does a lot of, like, he has to be doing something all the time. And like, I just see a lot of myself in him, and I'm like, I don't feel like I need to go get him diagnosed though, but maybe later if it affects his schoolwork.
Yeah, school's the big problem.
That's the
Yep.
thing that
Yeah.
it's like, if you're, here he comes,
The
snapping
school-
away.
There you
Somebody
go.
say snapping on cue.
Yeah. Well, I think that kids today, with all of the things, they're so much smarter than we were, just because of the internet and the information that they have, and podcasts about science and this. I mean, they have so much better information
Yeah.
than we had growing up, and I don't think the school systems have kept up with modern kids.
No,
at
at
all.
all.
And that's why they're not learning to read and write, and
Yeah.
it's just a big mess.
Well, but I feel like a part of that too is like education is too modernized. Like, there's so many schools that are just, the kids are on Chromebooks
That's true.
all day long. Kids don't learn how to
That's
read
not what
on
I'm
a
talking
computer
about.
screen.
I'm talking about more an individual approach to education. I just
Yeah.
think that we could, I mean, there's many different ways of learning, and there's many different kinds of brains and how they're wired, and I think that they haven't tapped into that, and I think it's a big mistake, because we're entering an age of AI and robotics and all of this stuff, and people are going to have to know different things and be able to think differently so that they can be employed. Or if we're not going to have jobs, if robots and AI are going to
Yeah.
take over absolutely everything, we're going to have to find some constructive way to spend time, or people are going to be a mess.
It's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you think about like
It's coming. I mean, it's here.
over the past 100 years, what was like the big tech job? It was like, 100 years ago, it was probably like telegram operator or telegraph operator. And then, like radio engineer, like someone who builds radios, that sort of thing. And then you
Yeah.
got your punch card people, and all of it's obsolete now.
All of it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Every 20 years, all the big tech jobs, whatever like the most tech thing you can think of, 20 years from now, it's going to be like grandpa's job. Now there's this new thing.
Well, and that makes me think of, you're talking about schools, you talk about government. How well are these different segments of society keeping up with the high speeds
With
of the tech changes?
anything, yeah.
Right, it's a big thing, right? Because you go
Yeah.
to, that's one of the things that came up in the last few years is all of these politicians who have been in office for decades, and they're older, and they're not keeping up with some of this stuff. And so they're supposed to be able to pass legislation and make decisions based on things that they're not really familiar with. School systems.
Yep.
Same thing, keeping up with what the things that you're talking about. They reminded me a couple of times that I've been in here, Tom, you'll bring up this thing about what's up with this stress in society. Everybody's on the boiling point.
Yeah, they are.
There was a really interesting article I read, I think it was last week, and it was talking about how, as a society, we're experiencing this interesting level of shared stress right now because we all know that the world we're living in right now is changing so quickly. And in a way, historically, that's always true. But in a way, we're in a really unique moment right now. Look at so many things we can point to. And so this article was talking about how, for those of us even paying somewhat attention, we know there's seismic shifts happening. But in our everyday life, we look around and everything looks relatively normal. Look at what we're doing right here. Doesn't this feel kind of normal?
Been doing it for 12 years. Pretty
Yes.
normal to me.
And so in a way, we're still getting our gas. We're still going and buying our candy bar. We're still having dinner with our family or whatever. So in a way, everything seems kind of normal. But there's this awareness that things are not normal. They're shifting very quickly. And it's leading to this permeating level of unsettled kind of stress.
If you ever try to have a conversation with someone younger
sense.
than probably 25 on the internet, good chance at some point they will copy paste a chat GPT output to you without actually really reading it, like as if that just debunked everything you just said. And you can be like, well, okay, so the AI just hallucinated this part. And this part is just completely irrelevant because it's like dealing with data that's not actually part of the set that we're talking about. But to them, it's like I asked the omniscient robot and it told me this, therefore it's right. And, you know,
Yeah, there's
you're
too
not
much-
omniscient, so obviously you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, and it's like the Google AI. That's like the first thing that pops up now when you Google anything, and it's like half the time it's not even
It's
right.
so insane.
And it's like Google, like the information mecca of the world, like their AI isn't right most of the time. Like
Yeah,
it's just like you can't put trust in something. You have
There's
to look. Like yesterday, I saw that one of I work out on Peloton, and one of the instructors is like super pregnant, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that she was pregnant. So I Googled like her name and pregnant, and then the Google AI thing was like, although she is not currently pregnant, and I'm like, she is like 9 months pregnant.
Oh yeah, there's
obviously.
a subreddit called Google AI Gone Wild, which
Oh,
is just
I
people.
bet that's amazing.
People just showing the most wrong things that Google AI. So you Google something, and this person, for example, Googled examples of goddesses, like female goddesses, and it said Apollo, goddess of the moon.
Okay.
Apollo is not the goddess of the moon. Apollo is a man, for one, and not related to the moon.
Yeah.
Google says that the next time the Summer Olympics will be held in Rome will be 2028 in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So Los Angeles,
In
Rome.
Los Angeles, Rome.
Yeah, you know.
Hey, right. I posted a picture of a classic car on my X account, and first thing, maybe 3 comments down, Grok. What is this car?
I know, it's always Grok.
I-
Is this true? What's
Yeah.
this, Grok?
It's
like,
just-
What are you
stop,
talking
Just
about?
rely on
It's
yourself.
just so
I
funny.
don't know what Grok is.
Grok is
It's-
the Twitter AI or X AI.
Oh,
Yeah.
I will
It's
never
just
know what
amazing
that is.
how everybody just relies on it.
I remember saying to my mom, not even a year ago, probably 7, 8 months ago, she doesn't keep up with some of the technology changes. And I said, Mom, AI is about to be a part of our everyday life in ways we don't fathom yet. She's
already
like,
is for a
she's
lot of
like,
people.
Not me. And and to what you guys are talking about, shortly thereafter is when I experienced the Google, where I'm like, oh, Google is now an AI,
Yep.
and I had the same thing, and I was like, this is it. This is
Yep.
happening so quickly.
It's already here.
Well, here's a good one. Someone asked what Trump's latest actions have been as president, and Google AI corrected them and said, actually, Trump's presidency ended in 2021. So
Wow.
I know.
it's just like,
Well, all
it's
it
bad
does is-
at the most basic things.
Yes.
Is the,
Well, all AI does, as far as news, is it just scans.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far back it goes, and if it does.
Yeah.
5 on this side and 5 on that. Or
well, but
6,
even
and
that,
come
like, here's
to
a good example
consensus? I don't
of
know.
here's a good example of outdated information not being pertinent. Someone wanted to know how to find an exhaust leak in their car.
Yeah.
So it said, start the vehicle and let it run 15 minutes with the garage door closed.
And
That's
kill
just like
yourself.
objectively
What?
wrong, no
people-
matter
In
where you look.
general, like it just was
somebody
like
might do
exhaust
it.
car. Those are the words I need. Like,
Somebody could actually
yes.
die.
Someone
And then
could.
Yeah, if somebody
who's,
just
Because the
blindly-
who's legally
computer
liable for
told
that?
me to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Who is lying?
Now, I will share, I had a cool experience with this recently in that I had to go in to see my doctor and I had to get some tests done. And so I had the experience of in my chart, they showed the results, which was filled with all kinds of lingo that I did my best to decipher.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make sense of it.
Right.
And I knew I had to wait a few days to hear from my doctor. So out of curiosity, I copied and pasted it into the Google bar, and AI was able to search the internet and basically come back and go, based on all this information, this all indicates, and then it was that I'm alive, and then the medical condition that I know that I have been diagnosed with, it says that fits with that.
Okay.
And so then I was able to go back to my doctor a few days later and go, so out of curiosity, this is what AI told me, was that right? And he said yes. And I thought, well, that's an interesting.
Yeah, it can be really, really good. It's just like 90% of the time, I would say it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But 10% of the time, it's completely insanely wrong. Like wrong as in like asking a toddler about something and they just make some crap up.
Yeah.
That level of wrong.
Yes.
And the problem is people don't know the difference. They don't know when it's being wrong. They just trust it 100% of the time. So if you're just completely wrong about 10% of things, the cumulative effect of that is that you aren't going to know what is going on in the world.
And that reminds me of another fascinating article. I think this was like 2 days ago. At some point, I think it was an old professor of mine, was talking to me about how quickly technology changes and scares society. But historically what happens is that we get smart people who know how to kind of counter the evil people, if you will, that want to misuse the technology, right? Like, oh my God, airplanes, we can't use those because people are going to take a hold of them and crash them.
Right.
Well, this article that came out the other day, it was, and I forget his name, so if any of you know, go ahead and tell me, but he's one of the people considered the grandfather of AI. And so this article is talking about how he has recognized that there are these AI programs that have shown they can start to manipulate people. I don't know if you guys have followed that, but
and they can actually lie. It'll lie.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had the one example that really threw out the alarm bells was they had a chat bot that they secretly put in as an online poker player who, everyone else thought was real.
Yep.
And it got disconnected. And so the real people are like, hey, what happened to Tommy or whatever? But when the chatbot comes back on, it went, oh, sorry, my girlfriend was messaging me. A complete manipulation and lie. And that's when these researchers went, oh, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, this grandfather of AI that has come out with this program is he just announced, and he wants to get this around the world to get all these governments and everything to implement this, it's this system that will... It's called like a scientifically objective AI, which will scan your system to see if chatbots are trying to persuade you or manipulate you. And then this system will figure out the odds that is wrong or could do you harm, and then could actually block that from reaching you.
This is why I'm becoming Amish.
Yeah, it just sounds easier to just move to a
thank
mountaintop,
you.
doesn't it?
I'm signing out.
We got one more quick break here. Come back and wrap things up, and let's talk about the comedy part of your life in the next segment. You're listening to me, your customers are listening to me, and they'll hear me promote your business. The Tom Bernard Podcast attracts thousands of listeners who are loyal, engaged, and ready to support businesses they trust. Our podcast has helped numerous businesses increase traffic, sales, brand recognition. We're not just about ads, we're about results. Whether you're a local business or a national brand, we offer custom advertising packages designed to fit your unique needs and goals. Our audience spans demographics, allowing you to target your ideal customers with precision, from millennials to baby boomers and everyone in between. With the broad reach of the show and passionate following, your business will see increased visibility and awareness, translating into more customers and sales. What, everybody abandoned the show?
Yes, they did.
Scared
got
about
up
the
and
AI
left.
stuff.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So you're leaving?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, see you later.
Good to know.
Okay. Unbelievable. I always know when they have to leave early. You know how I know when they have to leave early? I haven't talked in 12 minutes on my own show. Because if they're going to leave, they want to try to get everything in at once.
That's awesome. I was totally noticing. I'm like, Tom is not getting word in edgewise here. What is going on? What's happening? You just filled me in on the family dynamics.
Well, AI is not exactly your forte anyway, so,
No. At some point, though, when you're in talking about how far we've come with, analysis and treating people with certain problems, that stuff fascinates me. Because I don't think those people ever forget that. The rest of their lives, they'll remember the first thing they ever said to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. They will. Matter of fact, we should probably find out if anybody's ever asked that question. What's the first thing you said to your therapist? I bet you everybody would remember.
It could be. I remember my first thing I said to my therapist was a joke.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah, he asked me how I was, and of course, me being the therapist, I don't talk about myself. So he asked me how I was, and I'm like, I'm pretty good, but enough about me. Let's talk about you. Oh
Yes,
wait, no, not this
exactly.
time. Okay.
Exactly right. No, I love talking because nobody ever wants to talk about that. I've talked to people in the radio business for years about this. There are certain things that radio people will not talk about because they want to be edgy, or they want to be funny, or they want to. Radio people in general, except for I guess the shows that are aimed right at doing this, they do not want to talk about analysis or anything like that. They just don't want to talk about it. We're trying to cheer people up here, but no, you're trying to cover everything. Is what you're actually doing.
Yeah, because you can, like right now, I'm picturing listening to some kind of a peppy morning
Right,
radio of like,
right.
hey, we got prizes, and we've got this, and we got that.
That's exactly right.
And there's ways in which at times that can kind of feel, I suppose, like kind of energizing and nice, but there's sometimes it can feel like that's a disconnect from.
It's really fake, first
Yeah.
of all. It's just a fakey way to, come and listen to us because we'll give you something for listening.
Especially the more that there's like the noises and the whizzes
Oh,
and the
yeah,
hey and the
that's-
dun 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 dun
There used to be a
dun.
lot of that stuff.
Yep.
So the comedy career, how's it going? Everything's good?
Yes, it's
I'm
going
glad
great.
to hear that.
I'm exhausted, but it's a fantastic exhausted. I can't stop putting on more shows.
Now, how do you have a circle where you really can't venture outside that circle because it's too far to get back for your day job?
I mean, that can be a thing, but that's not really been any kind of.
Oh, that's good.
It's not really a big thing. I mean, it's not like I'm at a stage right now where I'm going on the road for 2 weeks and have to figure out what to do
Right.
with my therapy
Right.
clients. So,
Yep.
I mean, for the most part, I stick to the Twin Cities, at least, kind of Minnesota or into Wisconsin, Iowa, North Dakota. I haven't really ventured beyond that, so it's not too much of an issue. But
Well, it's a great area anyway.
oh, it's fantastic.
Why is Minnesota? Because Minnesotans tend to be, close to the vest and very touchy about their politics and all the rest of it. But comedy here's always been really good.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know for sure. And I somebody brought this up the other day. I kind of want to know, is this area known for really good comedy? Because I'm
Yeah.
from here, and I feel like I know it's great for comedy. I just feel like we're known for that. But somebody the other day was
Absolutely.
making a reference, and maybe they were just naive, but they were kind of making this point that the Twin Cities is kind of under the radar and not known, and it's a little secret. But
Boy, I don't
hasn't
think
been-
so.
I didn't think so. Yeah.
Almost everybody I've ever talked to, the big national people and all the rest of it, they know that people love comedy in this market.
And I don't know if this is something, Tom, but this just occurred to me right now. Could it be that one thing about comedy around here, it can be appealing in the sense that Minnesota culture, if we're going to stereotype it, a lot of Minnesota culture is known for being a bit more reserved.
No question.
Minnesota
Yes.
nice and all of that stuff.
No
So
question.
perhaps a lot of us are carrying around some things, and then to be able to go to a comedy show and have comedians
Yep.
that are now putting those things out there, and the audience can collectively laugh. There might be a therapeutic thing.
Oh, I think there definitely is.
Yeah.
Because those, mostly it's Scandinavians are very close to the vest.
That's
They
it.
don't want to talk about this, that, and the other thing. But at a comedy store, it's totally different. Mm-hmm. That's the one place they can relax and not worry about it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think I've shared this with you before, but if I now imagine me being on stage and having some of these moments, I mean, one of my favorite things is to produce shows that are outside of the metro area and to get into rooms where maybe it appears to be a little bit of an older crowd, maybe a Scandinavian crowd, a little bit of
Yeah,
that, where
yep.
I can find a way to tap into some of these topics and these things they're probably thinking, feeling, and experiencing. And I can kind of do it with a little twinkle and mischievous smile when I'm saying it. But then to see them light up and laugh and
Right.
clap in response to it goes, there is some resonation there. And maybe they're not getting that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been obvious to me for, I guess, 50 years now that comedy is a big part of this society in Minnesota. They maybe because they can't laugh at home or can't laugh at work, they got to go laugh somewhere.
Yeah, it can be their escape. It can be
Yeah.
I was thinking today, so, one of the things I was going to mention anyway is, so Tuesday at Gambit Brewing in St. Paul, I'm running a funniest headliner contest, which, by the way, has been fantastic. We just did the first one last Tuesday, so it's 3 weeks long. I've got 30 comics who have all headlined places that are competing for $1,000.
Okay.
And so anyway, the reason I bring that up there is because there's a couple I've gotten to know that show up for these shows they do at Gambit Brewing. And they started showing up a couple of months ago. They started showing up to the open mic, and now they're showing up to the headliner contest. And to spend time with them afterwards and listen to them, and they talk about how they do have their own stressors in life, whether it's with their jobs, their kids, or whatever. And they have found that to be able to know they have this room to go to on a weekly basis and go listen to some comedians where they can escape and they can laugh, you can tell when they describe it to me, it's just meant a lot to them to be able to have this place to go to and
I think
to be able to
true.
experience that. And that's not nothing.
No, it's not nothing. I mean, I never knew this because I didn't know him, I guess, until a couple of years into his career. I had no idea that when he started out, Louis Anderson was a prop comic. I had no clue.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Me either.
But there are pictures of him with all these props on stage, and I had no idea he went through a prop comic deal.
Carrot Top stage.
Yeah, Carrot Top. God, how's Carrot Top doing these days?
Wow.
So weird, honest to God. God, I just got a call from Pat Ebert's brother. Wonder what that's all about. Did you ever know Pat Ebert? He was one of my dear friends. Matter of fact, he's like a third cousin of Catherine, but we never knew that until they met. But he passed away a couple of years ago, and his twin brother just called me. I wonder what's going on there.
Huh.
You talking about psychiatry, and all of a sudden I get a call.
I know, that's funny. I think one of the last times I was in here, you had several calls that were coming through on your
Yeah, that happens.
on your phone.
And I don't know why that is. Who knows?
Oh yeah, because that led to us talking about how in therapy sessions now it's a regular thing for me to see clients checking their text, responding to text, getting phone calls, taking phone calls during therapy sessions.
Oh my God, that's a bit much.
So that ties into our thing earlier about society changing. It's pretty subtle in a way, but it's just become a normal thing.
I guess it is.
Hopefully
just
the
a
day doesn't
normal
come
thing,
as therapists. We become okay with us, answering phone calls and responding
Yeah,
to
it
text
would not be
messages.
good.
Yeah, Tom, keep talking about your childhood. I
whatever.
understand. I'm just
I-
responding quick to my buddy here.
we were talking about that earlier about people going to therapists and all the rest of us, and it's really funny. I was 18 years old the first time I ever went because I had got very, very stressed out. Thinking my father was in the mental institution and where the bills are piling up and we're all broke. I will never forget the first time I sat across from a therapist. I'm 18 years old, and he was just looking at me and allowing me to relax and all the rest of it. And he didn't say anything to me, but he told me the tears ran down my cheek, and I said, "Oh my God, the misery." Those were my first words to a therapist.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing when you think of it, that I was so quick to come out with that. It had to come out, in other words. That was it had to come out because I opened up with it. It's just the way it was.
And that therapist was not saying anything. They were just
Nope.
And that
Just
to me
waiting it
makes
out.
that makes me appreciate a good therapist
Oh, God, yes.
can
absolutely.
know when to shut the F up.
Yeah, that's very
Right? And
Do all your talking on
Well,
stage.
I told
Yeah.
you last time that the first time I came on this show, it was a new experience to me, and later I went back and watched, and I realized it must have been weird for you because that's when I learned your catchphrase. Because you would say something or ask something to me, and then I would sit with it for a moment, and then you'd start filling in the gap, and I was like, oh, I have to remember I'm not going into a therapy session when I'm with Tom, because in therapy
could
sessions I will just sit there
Yeah,
after you say something
absolutely.
because you might have that thing, we might be here and you might tear up and say, oh, the misery, and
Oh,
I'll
the
go, I'm glad I
misery.
didn't say anything.
Oh, my God, the misery.
Wow.
Well, so everything's going well in both careers, so that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
You got to keep coming back now. We're going to be here for the rest of the entire summer, so it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm super happy. I noticed the difference when I come in and you're here in person.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
it
they
was
don't let
kind of
me
like getting
talk,
used
so-
to Zoom therapy, but it's not. Your vibe is great when we're right here together. I
I'm
still
glad
love
to
being
hear
on
that.
here when we have to do it. When you're
Yeah.
down south. But this is a nice feel.
All right, you're next, Tom, on stage. When's your next time on stage?
So tonight I will be in Chanhassen at the OG Coffee and Wine Bar.
That's very nice.
And then, like I said, Tuesday, the Funniest Headliner Contest. So that one I'm not performing jokes in. I do host it and I produce it. And I do just want to throw that out there for everybody. If anybody in the Twin Cities wants an amazing show next Tuesday, it's $5 cover charge. Because I need to pay $1,000 to the winner, and I need to come up with that somehow. So I'm doing a $5.
There you
so,
go.
Yeah, it's been
There
really
you
fun
go.
becoming a producer and figuring out how to put all of this on. But yeah, so then Tuesday it will be. So we'll have 15 more headliners on Tuesday. So last Tuesday it was 15 headliners, and the audience votes, and so they voted for the top 3. Now, you know Khadijah Cooper, because I think we've had her on here before.
Yep.
Remember Khadijah? So her mom Cece won last Tuesday. So she'll advance to the final, which will be a week from Tuesday. Khadijah's going to perform this upcoming Tuesday in the contest. She's going to be in that 15, so we have the chance for those two to face off in the finals.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boy, that'd be tough.
Yeah. Right. Oh, but well, Khadijah was on. I don't know what stations we can reference or not, so maybe I won't.
Whatever.
But Khadijah was
Whatever.
hosting on My Talk yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And so she was on there trash talking already, talking about how she's going to show up next week, claim her stake in the finals, and then take her mom out in the finale. So.
Well, come back soon.
Yes, I will definitely
love
do
having
it.
you
Thank you
soon.
for having me on, Tom. I always appreciate it.
And before
we
we
love
end the
having
show, we should announce this week's winner
Oh, good luck. That's a great idea.
of the Jack's Cafe giveaway. That would be at Belden Derek, who I did DM already. So, Derek, if you're listening, someone you know is listening, check your DMs, because you won this week. For the next contest tweet that I'm going to be making today. So, is it still a tweet, even though it's called X? Do you tweet on X? I don't know how it works.
I don't know. Tweet on Twitter.
I'm always
I
going to
think you
call
should
it.
just call it that. Everyone knows what you're talking
I'm
about.
going to call it a tweet for the rest of my life.
Yep.
This week, we are going to try tweeting from the official at Tom Bernard Show page because it's just easier to control from there.
Yeah.
We barely use it, so it won't get caught in the clutter and that sort of thing. So, if you are listening, you're looking for that next contest tweet, you're going to want to check at Tom Bernard Show. I will probably do that after we do the What's the Point podcast, so that'll be 2 or 3-ish. So, by the time you get home from work, it should be out there. And then Joe also wants to know, Dad, if you have checked your texts and seen the shirt he sent you.
Yeah, I did see the shirt. It's a nice-looking shirt.
Yeah?
One of a kind, he said.
One of a kind. Yep, he designed it just for you.
That's what I understand. It looks great. It does.
Yes, it says, what does it say? Bop bop because grandpa's for old guys or something
Yeah,
to that
something
effect?
like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Grandpas for old guys. All right, that's going to do it. But, yeah, Jesse, keep coming back because we love having you on.
We'll do.
Andy, we'll see you tomorrow, huh?
Yes, I will see you.
All right. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.